a rapper when I was a little kid rapper, and me and my friend had a little act called Sweet and Sour, because we love salt and pepper so much. We wanted to be salt and pepper so much, we called ourselves Sweet and Sour.
We felt like we were, you know, the young white salt and pepper.
Amy Jade Winehouse, born September 14th, 1983, died July 23rd, 2011. Seeing Amy Winehouse's final on-stage performance gave me a picture of what it must feel like to reach the level you're one of the biggest artists in the world. Everyone around you wanting something from you and not caring about the state you're in. Like addicts themselves, they just want their fix of you in any way and as much of it as possible until next time. The same crowd that clapped for her and sang her song with her, even though she's clearly out of it and offbeat, was the same crowd that booed her if she ever stopped singing and simply wanted to have an intimate conversation with the audience. Shut up and sing. She threw the mic in the audience, and what does her handlers do? Throw another mic in her face and encourages her to keep going. After all, this is how we make ends meet. If you don't sing, as drunk or high as you are, we don't eat as much as we'd like. At one point, she even fell over, obviously unable to control her physical self and in need of leaving the stage. And what does her band of males behind her do? Laugh and smile as if this was an attempt by Amy to be funny. She's never held or picked up and taken away, saving herself the public embarrassment. No, the music plays on until she reluctantly begins singing and putting on a show. It's what happens when you become a living icon like Amy Winehouse was, a singer considered the best of her generation. A musician that sold over 14 million copies of her second album, going diamond, which only 22 artists in the history of music have done. No one actually cares about you. They'll show up to leave flowers at your doorstep after you die, but while you were alive, none of them ever had the thought, hey, let me show up to Amy's house and just leave something outside to let her know she's appreciated. As a person, Amy was an addict, a user, but she was also used by everyone in her life or around her, and it led to a lonely place toward the end, literally going out in an empty house in her sleep. Body, mind, and soul just had enough. At 2011, at 27 years old, Amy's voice had left us for good. You didn't have to be a fan of soul, R&B, jazz, or pop to understand there wasn't another singer with the talent Amy Winehouse had. The way she was able to change inflection in her voice so effortlessly, from deep and soulful to high-pitched and energetic, she had range that expanded from London, England to urban R&B to even hip-hop and beyond. A one-of-a-kind package of talent, personality, enthusiasm, and humility to be a superstar, but also just the right low self-esteem and addictive personality that could lead to a train wreck. The perfect rise and fall story formula in the music industry to create a legend. It'll likely take generations to find another Amy Winehouse, if that's even possible, but one thing's for certain, while she was alive, there was nothing like her, giving her the chance to go down as one of the greatest music artists ever. But what happened? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Rest in peace, Amy Winehouse. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Amy Winehouse was a musician, singer, and songwriter from Southgate, London, England, and grew up in a musical family, beginning with her father that would sing Frank Sinatra songs to her, and also had uncles that were jazz musicians professionally. As a child, she attended theater school as she always had a big personality and obviously talent as an entertainer. She was expelled from Sylvia Young Theater School for not applying herself and being disruptive to the other students, although Sylvia Young came out after Amy's passing to refute those rumors. She then attended a performance and creative arts school called the Brit School, where allegedly she was thrown out of there as well at 16. She learned to play the guitar, practicing with her brother's instrument until she got her own and began writing music. Her industry career began with her as an entertainment journalist before being discovered by 19 Management. They hid her from the industry until they learned what to do with her, and that's where Island Records came in and signed her along with EMI Publishing, whom quickly moved on her talent, releasing her debut album a year later, which went 3 times platinum and peaked at number 3 on the UK charts. Stunt number 1, Meeting Blake Fielder Civil. Like a true gift and a curse, Amy met the right and wrong person for her life at the time, and even they both eventually knew it. Not to blame any one person for her career and eventually life not going as planned, because Amy's demise was overall due to the fact she was an addictive person and found addiction in anything, music and eventually alcohol and Class A drugs at some point. Many believe it was the point she met Blake. The two met in a pub in 2005 while drinking, which Amy was known to do. In 2003, she had released her debut album that did well, selling over 3 million copies. Fielder Civil, simply Civil from here on, was a director's assistant, and Amy was an open-minded person who just found what she was looking for. Reportedly, Civil was a longtime heroin and crack cocaine user and introduced Amy to the same. They married in 2007 and shared addictions and were on the path of self-destruction and had what some would call an increasingly dangerous codependence that led to highly publicized arrests, assaults, infidelities, and eventual divorce in 2009. Civil at a young age began using, allegedly growing up self-depressed and self-harming. He dropped out of school at 17 and started doing whatever he needed to score more drugs. When he and Amy met, they fell in love immediately, but Amy was a bit different. According to her manager, before meeting Blake, she'd laugh at addicts that use Class A drugs until the love of her life, I'm guessing, made it seem okay to do. She eventually became addicted and it affected her career physically, developing emphysema and becoming more secretive and distant, different from the firecracker that said how she felt and was always happy to be there. Her and Civil had a tumultuous relationship and would physically abuse one another if they became angry, drunk off the vodka. He was charged with assaulting a bartender while drunk and sentenced to 17 months in jail in 2008. He says in the 4 months before jail, he and Amy did drugs together, but doesn't take the blame for her becoming an addict. They divorced in 2009, encouraged by her father, who never liked Blake for his daughter, and Amy spiraled out of control over and over for the next 2 years. Stunt number 2, No, No, No. To rehab, that is. I don't know what it was with rehab, but Amy Winehouse was having none of it. She even made her biggest song of all time based around telling everyone that could help her kick the drugs that she had no plans to go get help at the time, although later on she was receiving at least outpatient assistance. Blame is a harsh word, but after her passing, much blame has went around and not many are honest in that blame, giving Amy herself her share. Many tried to help her, but she felt she didn't have the time to go sit in a facility. She was on top of the world in 2006 by the time her second album released. She had finally got to the point she dreamed of and wanted no parts of relaxing. She'd attempt to go on tour and juggle her addiction, but at times it failed miserably and she'd be booed off stage, swearing back at fans, clearly not in the right mind state to go on. She canceled her tour and public appearances in 2007 to rest and get clean, but for Amy, nothing was wrong with her, except she was lonely and heartbroken she couldn't be with Blake, who was in jail and in another relationship. In 2008, Winehouse received 5 Grammy Awards for the song Rehab and her Back to Black album, a Guinness Book's record for a female British performer. Of course, she wasn't able to attend because the US would not grant her a visa to be there and perform live. Amy Winehouse was supremely talented, but she was also headstrong and addicted to anything she liked once. The alcohol and drugs had the biggest hooks in her, and she was never able to shake it. Stunt number 3, the show must go on. In life, sometimes you have to take a few steps back in order to take a leap forward. In my opinion, there's a problem with how Amy Winehouse was managed around the height of her career and right before she passed away, where no one seemingly gave up enough to be around and make sure she was fine. Her mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, so understandably could only do so much. Her father, a former taxi driver, was off attempting to blow up as an artist, touring as such when his daughter died. Her former ex-husband Blake, supposedly the love of her life, went off and had a child with another woman, and her management were so eager to prance her out on stage tour after tour attempt, wanting nothing more than to capitalize on what was the biggest artist in the world, on pace to being one of the biggest of all time. What she needed was a break from music and to be watched and treated 24/7, ensuring at some point she kicks her addiction and then goes back out there giving her gift to the world. There's no need for multiple shows to be cancelled before someone realizes. She was lonely, I'm sure, at the end, feeling no one truly understood or cared for what she was going through. All in all, music lost a one-of-a-kind talent. Amy Winehouse was as talented as they came, on her way to iconic status. She only managed to release 2 albums while alive, both did great and propelled her to a different place, but addiction got a hold of her and she died in her home at 27 years old, July 2011, found unresponsive by her bodyguard. The cause of death, alcohol poisoning. Great artists, but like we've seen before, substance abuse is real. And in some cases, you don't recover like Britney Spears. You go out like Amy Winehouse. Rest in peace, Amy Winehouse. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.